The modern POS system behavior can be customized in several ways. For example, modifying the information that is made available to modern POS by extending a commerce entity to include a new column from the Microsoft Dynamics AX database. The new column in Commerce Runtime can then be used in a service and a workflow and exposed in the Commerce Runtime API. If the commerce entity is modified, the corresponding controller and metadata in retail server have to be customized. In other extensibility scenarios, every layer of the stack need not be modified. For example, simply modifying the way a workflow behaves without modifying the database schema. The retail SDK includes apps for various clients. You can customize those apps to match the branding of your organization or to extend their functionality. Typically, the customization of the retail modern POS may involve the following: extending Microsoft Dynamics AX and Commerce Data Exchange, extending Commerce Runtime, extending Retail Server, extending the modern POS client. Extending Microsoft Dynamics AX and CDX. The following are the main tasks to be done on the Microsoft Dynamics AX and CDX side. Customizing the database schema. If new fields are added to a table in Microsoft Dynamics AX, a commerce entity in the Commerce Runtime automatically includes those fields as long as changes are made to the stored procedures or view to return the additional field. Customizing Commerce Data Exchange Real-Time Service. The CDX Real-Time Service is a Windows Communication Foundation service that uses the .NET Business Connector to enable retail clients to communicate with Microsoft Dynamics AX in real time. Customizing the real-time service involves adding extension methods to the retail transaction service X class. Enable debugging. You can use the X++ debugger to debug from Commerce Runtime to real-time service to Microsoft Dynamics AX, but you must create Microsoft Dynamics AX configurations for your local client and business connector, and then update the business connector configuration in the registry editor. Commerce Runtime is a set of assemblies that enables your store to obtain interactive data. Commerce Runtime includes several services that query for real-time data. It also includes workflow business logic that enforces rules for your store. Tasks of extending the Commerce Runtime include customizing the data in a commerce entity. The commerce entity is a property bag of key value pairs of C# properties. These properties provide string representations of fields from the database so that you do not need to remember the names of the columns in your database when you write code. For any existing data type, if you add one or more new fields to a table in Microsoft Dynamics AX, the commerce entity automatically includes those fields as long as you make changes to the stored procedure or view to return the additional field. Customized services. Microsoft Dynamics AX offers many services in the Commerce Runtime that support basic functionality of a store. If one of these services does not meet the needs of your store, you can replace it with your own service and continue to use the other services that are installed with the Commerce Runtime. Customized workflow. Commerce Runtime includes workflow business logic that enforces rules for your business. You can use the workflows that are included in the Commerce Runtime or create your own. You can use the API for things like getting information about items, price calculation, shipping calculation, or placing orders. You can extend API to fit your business processes. After you customize the functionality of your store in the Commerce Runtime, use the GAC utility to copy new DLLs to your solution. Extending Retail Server. Microsoft Dynamics AX Commerce Runtime is wrapped in the Retail Server layer. A Retail Server uses a web API with OData to support thin clients within the store like tablets and phones. The tasks involved in extending the Retail Server may include creating a new controller. If you create a new commerce entity or complex type, you need to create a new controller to expose the actions you want to be available. After you create a new controller, you must modify the metadata to use it. Extending an existing controller. You can integrate a new controller or extend one of the existing controllers that come with Microsoft Dynamics AX. If you add a commerce entity or action, you must modify the metadata to use it. Extend metadata. The metadata defines a contract with the client and the server. It exposes the entity definition and action definition. So when you make changes on the server side, you can use a tool on the client side to generate proxy code, reducing the maintenance effort for developers. To consume new commerce entities and actions, you must extend the metadata, otherwise the client won't know about it. Use Web API and OData controllers together. You can create your own Web API controller and extend the Web API configuration as an alternative to using standard OData controllers. Retail server reference. The reference API documentation is available in Microsoft.Dynamics.Retail server library assembly. Incorporating changes. Once changes are done, you need to copy the DLL into the retail server bin folder. You need to repackage the new DLL into the same MSI installation package. You must also need to modify the web.config file to make sure the DLL is processed, just like the commerce runtime.config file. Extending the modern POS client. You can customize the look and feel of modern POS client to make it an extension of your brand. We recommend that you use your own file names and namespaces for any customizations. Extending the modern POS for a Windows client. You can install the Windows 8.1 packaged modern POS app by using the Microsoft Dynamics AX Setup Wizard, but you can't extend it. The Retail SDK includes sample code that you can use to extend the Windows 8.1 modern POS app to meet your needs. To use Windows 8.1 modern POS sample code that's included in the Retail SDK, you must install TypeScript for Visual Studio 2012 and 2013. Extending modern POS for Windows Phone client. The Retail SDK includes sample code that you can use to create your own Windows Phone modern POS app. Enable modern POS for Windows Phone reports. The Windows Phone app in Retail SDK contains code you can use for reports. You must install Silverlight libraries, uncomment code from certain files in Windows Phone app, and then add references to the Silverlight toolkit. Packaging your changes. After customizations are done, package the solution so that it can be installed on devices. To package your app in Visual Studio project, click Use Create App Packages on the Store menu. For installing the customized app, use side loading to install it on the devices.
Hardware station is one of the new features in R3. It is used as common API to connect to all hardware peripherals and remotely send commands to them. Following are the list of features of hardware station. Allow peripherals, which includes printer, cash drawer, pin pad and scale, to be shared for modern POS. Support OPOS on Windows devices. Fully extensible. Automatic provision based on user's credential. Integrate with new peripherals. Add new APIs. Full sample code is available in Retail SDK. Architecture of hardware station lies in interface of OPOS controls. It provides a web-based interface to send and receive data from OPOS controls and Windows peripherals. This enables any web accessible device to use these peripherals remotely. Extending retail modern POS. Modern POS is Windows 8 based application client which enables customers to use latest ecosystem and its rich features. Unlike Enterprise POS, Modern POS connects retail server through HTTP, but it provides all day-to-day operations done at store like POS and clienteling, customer orders, daily operations, store inventory, role-based layout and tasks. Let's look at the architecture of modern POS. The following components are platform independent. CRT, Commerce Runtime. It is a core or new retail architecture and retail server comprising of retail entities like customers, transactions, products, etc. Retail server. It is nothing but a launchpad of CRT engine. Retail server is a WCF service and hosted in Internet Information Server IIS. This WCF service is configured to communicate in OData version 3 format. This OData format enables platform independent and dependent clients to interact with entities in CRT. Out-of-the-box solution provided by Microsoft contains certain components like Data.js, SQLite, TypeScript, JavaScript, which are platform independent and used in Windows Modern POS. The Modern POS application is an architecture with view models and controllers similar to a MVC MVVM application, except it comes with power of dynamic JavaScript. But there are some components in the architecture which are not platform independent. The platform dependence comes along with UI rendering. Modern POS application uses Win.js plus HTML5 for UI rendering, whereas apps for iOS and Android use PhoneGap architecture for this purpose. View controllers, where we have platform-specific UI code behind on TypeScript, Win.js, DevExpress, jQuery, JQGrid, Knockout.js. Views on HTML5, CSS, and JS. Modern POS reports are one of the excellent features which enable you to create and control POS reports from AX backoffice. When the jobs for reports are pushed, you can see the report in Modern POS. Final output of the report.
Module 4, Extending Retail Modern POS. Modern POS. Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 for Retail Modern POS enables clients like PCs, tablets, and phones to process sales transactions, customer orders, daily operations, and perform inventory management. The retail modern POS is comprised of pre-release components. All pre-release features and functionality are preliminary based on current expectations and are subject to change. Modern POS users can perform a variety of tasks on supported laptops, tablets, and phones. These include processing sales transactions, viewing customer orders, managing daily operations and inventory operations, or viewing role-based reports. The Microsoft Dynamics AX Modern POS device is a client. It does not perform business functions or data processing. All business functions are provided by Microsoft Dynamics AX Retail Server. Modern POS clients can communicate with the retail server that are deployed in the store or in the data center. Modern POS clients can also communicate with peripheral devices such as cash drawers, credit card readers, and printers by using Microsoft Dynamics AX Hardware Station. The hardware station must be deployed in the store, and all modern POS clients in the store can connect to a single hardware station. Demo Modern POS UI Customization. In this demo, we'll cover visual profiles in Microsoft Dynamics AX Retail Headquarters and how they control the MPOS UI, and how to create new screen layouts for the MPOS UI from Microsoft Dynamics AX Retail Headquarters. So in this demo, we'll cover how to modify the screen layouts in modern POS by configuring visual profiles and screen layouts in Microsoft Dynamics AX Retail Headquarters. The tasks we'll do in this demo will involve adding images into the database, defining a new visual profile, creating a new register, creating a new button grid, and defining a new screen layout for the modern POS. Let me shift to USRT. The first step will be to add images which we are going to use for the screen layout into the Dynamics EX list of images. So for this we go into POS setup images and create a new image and just call it 9000. Select the image. I have already uh, created a couple of images which I am going to use for this demo. I select one of them, create one more for a background. Again, select the image. Now that we have added the images, we can go and set up the visual profiles. To set up the visual profile, we'll go into retail area page, setup, POS, profiles, visual profiles. So in this form, we create visual profiles which are to be used by the POS registers. So we'll create a new visual profile. Let me call it HOL1, HOL1. In the application type field, we can define which POS application is going to receive this visual profile. As you can see, there are options of selecting the retail POS, the modern POS for Windows Phone, modern POS for Windows clients, or modern POS for non-Windows clients. For the purpose of this demo, we are going to select modern POS for Windows. I'll select theme as dark, accent color as red, and for the login background, I'll select the image, and here I'll select the image 901 which selected earlier. So now we have a new visual profile created which we can use for modern POS clients. The next step will be to create button grids which are to be used by the screen layouts. Before we create the button grid, let us create a new register which we are going to use with this modern POS. So to create registers, go to retail setup POS and then down to POS registers. Click on new and enter the register number. I'll select the Houston store. We'll use an existing hardware profile and the new visual profile that we just created. So now we have a new register which has been created for using the POS screen layout for modern POS. Next, we'll create a button grid to be used by the modern POS. So we can go to retail setup POS button grids and create a new one. We'll call it HOL 1, can use any font, not change any of this. Now there's a feature here where you can use an existing button grid for the new button grid that you create so that it copies the same layout. But for the purpose of this demo, we'll create from scratch. So let's go to designer, just expand this form, and you see the buttons, new button, delete button, and new design. Let's click on new design. Okay, here I can select the number of rows and columns for the button grid. So I'll select 6 and 4. This gives me the layout of the button grid, which I can further customize to meet the needs. So to customize the layout, I go to the button properties and I can adjust the length and width of each button. So for this, I'll use a 4 column and 2 row width. Okay, and use a background color. Okay, next I'll use 2 column by 2 row and select a different color for this. Similarly here, let me change it to 2 rows and 2 columns. And this will use 1 column and 2 rows, or rather let's use 2 rows and 1 column again. Again, I can select any color here. So now we have uh, a rough layout of the screen that we want to modify um, uh, in the modern POS layout. Uh, this can be further enhanced by adding actions and images for each of the buttons. To do that, let's the button properties again, and the actions we can select any of the available options for the operations. I can select submenu here, and I can select an image to go with it. Okay, similarly here I can select some other operation. I will select void product, again select an image. The task becomes easier if you are clear in terms of which images you're going to use here. Uh, Otherwise, it can be quite tedious searching for the image that you want to use, and that can consume a lot of time. Um, can select the image, and for these two buttons, use a font color. So this is the last one. Use customer search. Again, I need to add some image here. Okay, so we are more or less done with the screen layout. Or the button grid layout, sorry. And now we can use this button grid layout in the screen layout. So we'll close this form for the button grid. So we have a new button grid available. The next thing will be to go to the screen layout, and this has the list of available screen layouts which are used by different POS registers. We'll create a new layout. HOL task, and again we have to select the application type. We had it is modern POS for Windows. Now based on the type of client, you can set up the height and width for the layout. I'm selecting 768 and 1366 because that's the Windows client I'm going to use. Now in the button grid section, you can add the layouts which have to be used. So the first one would be the welcome screen, and I'll use an existing button grid for it. Then would be the transaction screen. Here let us select the layout which we just created, and transaction screen 2. Again, we'll use one of the existing screen layouts for this. So we have added the button grids which are to be used by the screen layout. The next step would be to create the screen layout as you want to see it. There's one more step, adding the images, and the first image will be the welcome screen, and let us select the image that we created. Now that the button grids have been added to the screen layout, we'll click on the designer to further design the screen layout as we want to see it on the modern POS. Now this takes us to the drag and drop designer, where we can add the following components like the receipt pane, the totals panel, the number pad, the button grid. Now, getting the screen layout right exactly as you want to see it on the modern POS requires some effort in adjusting the layout, um, the height and the width of each of the grids uh, as you want to see it. Um, this will require you to prepare well in advance before you hit the screen so that you don't spend too much of time uh, trying to move on things and uh, getting the screen layout um, exactly as you want to see it. And this may also take a couple of iterations in getting the alignment right and being able to see it on your modern POS screen and coming back and again modifying it. I did not go into the details of how exactly to get the screen layout exactly as you want to see it on the modern POS. As a next step, we'll close this and see how the screen layout is added to the workers. For that, we need to go to the workers page. In retail common, select the worker you want to use. You can do that by the name or the personal ID. I'll just use the ID and double click and edit. Once the screen opens, go to the retail tab and in the screen layout section, add the custom screen layout which you created as part of this lab. The screen layout which is added to the worker always takes precedence over the screen layout which is added to the store. You can also add the screen layout to the store instead of the worker directly. Now that you have the screen layout ready, the next step will be to create the device which is going to use the screen layout. To create the modern POS device, you again go to the retail setup area and under POS, click on devices. Click new and create a new device for modern POS for Windows. can give a description as HUL. And now here select the register which was created as part of this exercise. The activation status still shows as pending uh, since the device is not yet activated. To replicate the changes from Microsoft Dynamics AX Retail HQ to the stores, you'll need to run the data distribution jobs, and this you can do by selecting periodic data distribution schedule and running the job 1090 registers and 1060 staff. So we have seen how the screen layout which is created as our needs on the modern POS is added to the worker, and how the device is created and how the configuration is published to the store. Uh, we saw the screen layout being added to the worker. It can also can be added to the store. To do that, you'll have to open the store, and in the store there's a screen layout section where you can add the screen layout specific to the application type.
Customization of modern POS UI. Let's discuss how to customize modern POS UI. To do that, go to Retail, Setup, POS, Screen Layouts. Clicking on the screen layouts will display the list of existing layouts. Click New and specify Screen Layout ID, name, device applications, height and width of the layout. Then click on Add Images to add images to the layout. Clicking on Designer will take you to Drag and Drop Designer to customize controls using mouse swiftly. Summary. In the Modern POS module, we saw how Modern POS is designed, how to customize Modern POS reports, how to customize Modern POS UI from back office. In Retail Server module, we saw the Retail Server architecture, what are omnichannels, how Retail Server API is designed, what is CRT, samples and demos. Retail Server. Retail Server enables retailers and consumers to access information and perform tasks using any device, anytime, anywhere, inside and outside the physical stores. Retail Server is a core of omnichannel retailing. It combines CRT and networking protocols like HTTP and HTTPS and connects to back office using real-time service RTS and Commerce Data Exchange CDX. Omnichannel retailing is very important functional factor around which R3 is built. Retail Server is a core of omnichannel retailing as all the retail data from stores or online stores go through Retail Server, hence making sure any change in CRT reflects at all systems. Everything starts with headquarters where the inventory and purchase orders are created. Next level consists of warehouses, financials, and supply chains. Next level consists of sales-facing entities like brick-and-mortar stores, e-commerce, and mobile apps. The final endpoint is consumers or corporate accounts. The objective of omnichannel retailing is to create an interface which will be customer aware through whatever system customer logs in. Retail Server architecture highlights. Retail business data and operations are available to any connected device through web APIs, integrated with back office, automatic data synchronization, real-time access to business operations. stateless, and able to process requests from many channels. Single instance can access multi-databases. Each database could host data for one or many channels. Built-in manageability and smart discovery. Architected for both private, public cloud, or on-location deployments. Support both enterprise mobility and consumer mobility inside or outside the physical store. Linear scale-out model, brick scale-out model. Retail Server API highlights. Retail Server exposes rich retail data and operations like catalogs, categories, search, customers, orders, shopping carts, wish lists, returns, exchanges, discounts, promotions, trade agreements, taxes, shipping charges, inventory availability, store locator, payment methods, reason codes, barcodes, receipts, shifts, clock in and clock out, receiving, picking and packing, in-store pickup, etc. Exposes commerce runtime to rich and thin modern POS through Web API. Since it is built on .NET Stack, C#, it is fully extensible from business data and operations to custom authentication providers. There are different types of entities available in Retail Server. Retail metadata. Entities like org units, employees, shifts are not retail specific and they are from base of AX. Whereas entities like customers, products are specific to retail. These are called retail data. It also contains transactional entities like sales orders, purchase orders, quotes, etc. Retail Server API taxonomy. As it follows WCF taxonomy of REST URLs, root starts with versioning, example v1, v2. Versioning is followed by entities, that is classes. Classes are followed by operations and it has ability to receive parameters as well. You can also call filter entities with specific parameters as well. You can also call root level operations as well. Example, getting master list of values, authentication, session information, etc. Retail Server API example for cards link given here. The detail will be available in demo VM. CRT forms core of Retail Server. Retail Server is nothing but a host for this embedded engine. CRT is nothing but embeddable engine with retail data and operations for all channels. It follows composition pattern for plug and play. It uses symmetric schema across channels. It is integrated with retail backoffice, automatic data synchronization, real-time access to business operations. It is built on .NET Stack. It is fully extensible. This slide explains step by step on how entities are placed in CRT. Let's take an example of a new promotion. It begins by calling promotion controller, which is a OData controller. Promotion manager class, which will be an internal class aware of all promotions and prepares a request messages, redirects requests accordingly in case required. Requests are handled by a request handler, which calls promotion plugin.
This diagram provides an overview of the retail server architecture and how it is used for customization and extensibility of modern POS. The customization first starts with the Microsoft Dynamics AX retail headquarters to free the front-end needs of the modern POS. The developer has to decide how the communication is going to happen between Microsoft Dynamics AX retail headquarters and the modern POS. It could be either through the CDX real-time service or the CDX async client and async server mechanism. CDX takes data from Microsoft Dynamics AX retail headquarters and pushes it to the CRT database. The Commerce Runtime database follows the same table schema as Microsoft Dynamics AX backoffice. The .NET plugin architecture above the CRT-DB loads the plugins. Now, once retail server is hosted, the REST API are utilized to communicate to modern POS. The REST endpoints will be consumed by modern POS. Retail server utilizes the following concepts. Entity type. An entity type that is something which has a life cycle which needs to be monitored. Example, customer. Controller. Controller is a mapping for an entity that controls the behavior and action for the entity type. The controllers are customizable. Complex type. Complex type is an OData concept that is designed to avoid duplication by grouping related properties. These related properties can be used by multiple entities. For example, customer is an entity type that has customer address, which is a wrapper containing street name, zip code, etc. The customer address is a complex type that can also be used by order, order being another entity type. Metadata. Metadata defines the contract between the client and the server. For customization, you could add a new entity type or a new complex type. You could also add a new controller or extend an existing controller. Any customization which is done in the commerce runtime requires the extension to be done on the retail server for it to be consumed by the modern POS. Retail server topology in store. The retail server in store topology requires the retail server to be hosted in each store. This type of deployment enables high performance and availability for the modern POS clients which require to communicate with the retail server. The other type of deployment for the retail server is a central topology where the retail server is hosted in a centralized database or data center, and each store has modern POS clients which communicate with the centrally hosted retail server. This type of deployment allows better control of the retail server and the communication between the retail server and the Microsoft Dynamics AX backoffice. Performance in this kind of a deployment can be improved by scaling up the AOS or SQL clustering. Customizing modern POS application requires the following system requirements: availability of retail SDK, Visual Studio 2012 or above, or Windows 8.1 SDK. Prerequisites for the developer are knowledge of WCF and MVC, TypeScript, JavaScript, HTML5 and CSS. This diagram provides an overview of the retail server architecture and how it is used for customization and extensibility of modern POS. The customization first starts with the Microsoft Dynamics AX retail headquarters to free the front-end needs of the modern POS. The developer has to decide how the communication is going to happen between Microsoft Dynamics AX retail headquarters and the modern POS. It could be either through the CDX real-time service or the CDX async client and async server mechanism. CDX takes data from Microsoft Dynamics AX retail headquarters and pushes it to the CRT database. The Commerce Runtime database follows the same table schema as Microsoft Dynamics AX backoffice. The .NET plugin architecture above the CRT-DB loads the plugins. Now, once retail server is hosted, the REST API are utilized to communicate to modern POS. The REST endpoints will be consumed by modern POS. Retail server utilizes the following concepts. Entity type. An entity type that is something which has a life cycle which needs to be monitored. Example, customer. Controller. Controller is a mapping for an entity that controls the behavior and action for the entity type. The controllers are customizable. Complex type. Complex type is an OData concept that is designed to avoid duplication by grouping related properties. These related properties can be used by multiple entities. For example, customer is an entity type that has customer address, which is a wrapper containing street name, zip code, etc. The customer address is a complex type that can also be used by order, order being another entity type. Metadata. Metadata defines the contract between the client and the server. For customization, you could add a new entity type or a new complex type. You could also add a new controller or extend an existing controller. Any customization which is done in the commerce runtime requires the extension to be done on the retail server for it to be consumed by the modern POS. Retail server topology in store. The retail server in-store topology requires the retail server to be hosted in each store. This type of deployment enables high performance and availability for the modern POS clients which require to communicate with the retail server. The other type of deployment for the retail server is a central topology where the retail server is hosted in a centralized database or data center, and each store has modern POS clients which communicate with the centrally hosted retail server. This type of deployment allows better control of the retail server and the communication between the retail server and the Microsoft Dynamics AX back office. Performance in this kind of a deployment can be improved by scaling up the AOS or SQL clustering. Customizing modern POS application requires the following system requirements: availability of retail SDK, Visual Studio 2012 or above, or Windows 8.1 SDK. Prerequisites for the developer are knowledge of WCF and MVC, TypeScript, JavaScript, HTML5 and CSS.
Summary. In this module, we saw overview of modern POS architecture and customization, overview of retail server architecture and extensibility, overview of commerce runtime and retail server APIs, how to do simple UI and report customization in POS, and also about retail hardware station. Setting up a blank operation on the retail POS register. To set up a blank operation on the retail POS register, follow the steps. After starting the retail POS, look at a blank button and select the button properties. In the button properties screen, you are able to configure actions of the button and set up the properties like text and font and color for the button. In the actions drop-down menu, select blank operation. You should find it here, and enter the operation number, which is a string value that retail POS uses to identify the blank operation. I'll give a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because you can send multiple blank operations to retail POS at the same time, you must give each blank operation a unique identity so that the retail POS can distinguish which operation to execute. You can use the blank operation param field to send an optional string value. The operation number and the blank operation param values combine to form the method signature of the blank operation. In this scenario, we will set up the blank operation number as 1, 2, 3, 5 and leave the blank operation param value blank, or we can just put it as my param. You can use the fields in the appearance tab on the right side to configure the button form to customize the appearance of the button. For example, you can set the text value that displays the button where the retail POS is started. We'll change the button name to my blank operation. So now we have created a blank operation button which is displayed on the retail POS screen. Click OK and we have the new button. So as expected, it just says the operation ID and parameter is saved. It cannot be used because we have not done anything. So now we'll need to add custom logic to this blank operation to make it usable. To add the custom logic, we'll need to go to the retail POS SDK. And in the retail POS SDK retail POS plugins, we look at the services folder, and within the services folder, the services solution file. Open it with Visual Studio Selector. Just wait for Visual Studio to open. The project is being prepared. I have a Dev Express license which is asking me whether I need to upgrade. As of now, I say no. Okay. I'll open the blank operations CS folder. Find it here. In this section, we describe how to change the look of Microsoft Dynamics AX for retail point of sale registers by creating new retail POS skins or modifying existing retail POS skins. To create or modify existing retail POS skins, you must obtain a license of DevExpress. Retail POS uses WinForms that are available with DevExpress. Although you can develop your own forms without using DevExpress, we recommend that you use these forms for consistency. To create a new retail POS skin or modify an existing retail POS skin, you can use the skin editor tool which comes with DevExpress. A custom skin can be created and properties like color and text can be set for the custom skin. Once you have modified the skin properties, you can generate a skin assembly and put the skin assembly in the retail POS runtime folder. For the retail POS registers to pick up the new skin and display them, you must select the new skin first in the POS profile visual profile setup in Microsoft Dynamics AX Retail Headquarters and then run the retail scheduler to update the POS registers. We will now go through a demo of how to create or modify retail POS skins. User interface extensibility. Microsoft Dynamics AX for Retail POS introduces a new way to customize forms by using the interaction service. Multiple developers can use this service to customize one or more forms in one service. If there are multiple customizations, the interaction service installs only the first customization it finds for a form. Forms that use this pattern are included in the interaction default services located in Retail SDK and the Retail POS plugins folder in Services Interactions Default WinForms Touch. You can also customize forms that are not a part of the interaction services. However, you will need a DevExpress license to do so. Now we'll go through a demo of user interface extensibility.